Area School District Board of Directors to order on this Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. The time is 7:10 p.m. Apologies for that delay. We were in executive session prior to tonight's meeting here. I'll ask the Secretary to call the roll.
Mr. Elbert.
Here.
Mr. Badger.
Here.
Dr. Beery. Here. Dr. LeCron.
Here.
Dr. Mathers. Here. Mr. Schimmel.
Here.
Mr. Snell.
Here.
Mr. Allman.
Here.
Mr. Young.
Yes. Here. Okay, I invite all present to rise and join me in the salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move on to our next item on the agenda for recognitions and presentations. Now, under the prior presentation section is when Mr. Hart and his fine students will join us to tell us some good news. So, are there any other recognitions or presentations that I'm not aware of that could be spoken to at this time? Okay, then student representatives, what do you have for us tonight?
So this past weekend, the jazz band was, well, last Friday, the jazz band was supposed to play over at First Friday. However, due to rain, it was canceled. So currently, the jazz band is getting ready for something going on in Central Columbia. I believe it is a jazz, not an exhibition, but more like a festival. Prom was recently held on Saturday. I know that a whole bunch of juniors and seniors had a good time at that. I'm blanking on anything else. Do you have anything else?
NHS is holding an SCCA drive, and any items would be happy to be accepted. There was a choir concert May 2nd, which I think went really well. The senior class is going to Dorney Park. Senior elementary walkthroughs are also scheduled for June 7th. So that should be fun.
Thank you. We'll move on now to the reading of the minutes, and the minutes in your packet are for the work session on April 26th, the regular session from April 12th. That will appear in 2 weeks for approval. So tonight we're just approving the work session from April 26th. And do we have a motion to approve them?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions or any corrections or anything like that? Okay, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. We have one abstention. Mr. Snell?
I wasn't here.
First time in what? 8 years. Yeah.
Slacker.
One excuse, Ron. No, we were wondering, Ron. So good to see you tonight. Okay, this time now we'll do our prior presentations, and that includes Pastor Larry Leland will be giving us some good words tonight, and then we'll move to the academic decathlon team. But first, Pastor Leland.
Well, it's good to be here. I come not only representing the congregation I serve, Faith United Methodist Church, but I come tonight as the parent of a rising freshman, grateful for the education and the care that our son has received, not only in his elementary years when we lived here previously, but especially in these last 2 years as he's been at the middle school. And I just invite you to be in an attitude of prayer with me. Oh God, we come to you tonight acknowledging that it has been quite a year. Our teachers are tired. Our students are tired. Our school board members are tired. Our families are tired. And our administration is tired. And we pray that as we look ahead to a rest and a break in this summer season for many of us, that you would use that time to refresh and renew spirits and bodies, so that when we come again in the fall to begin a new year, that it might be with a little bit extra energy, a little bit more enthusiasm, and a little bit of normalcy that we've all been longing for these last several years. But we come tonight also, God, acknowledging that it has been quite a year. Our students have achieved tremendous things. Our teachers have persisted in the midst of great challenges. Our community has responded to needs, even in the midst of disagreement, seeking the best for this community and particularly for the students that are a part of it. And so, oh God, we thank you for the quite a year things that have happened. Particularly, we pause this evening thinking of those who will soon be donning a cap and gown and walking into pomp and circumstance, receiving their diplomas and walking out of this place into the next place for the next season of their lives. We pray that their time in this school district has been a gift to them as they have been a gift to their teachers and to this town at large. And we pray that wherever that next season leads them, whether it be into the workforce, into military service, or toward furthering their education, we pray that you would walk with them and know that the prayers, the encouragement, and the support of the people that they leave here in Montoursville, if only for a season, go with them all. We pray these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Lynn. Mr. Hart, what do you have for us this evening?
I have the academic decathlon team, and I think they're ready to present themselves.
Hello, my name is Christian Smith, and I'm the captain of our high school's academic decathlon team. Thank you so much for allowing us to present to you today. We are so happy to be able to tell you a little bit about us and what we do. We just returned from our nationals competition, and we are wearing the medals that we won during that event. That was our first appearance at nationals in our 25-year history as a club. We managed to win 10 medals. As a decathlon, we have 10 events that all members compete in at each meet. We have a little something from each topic to show you all. Our team members who were able to make it this evening will present their best and favorite topics. Each year we have an overall theme that influences all of our events, and our theme this year was water, a most essential resource. So almost all of our events are related to water in some way. We are starting with math, where Lady Messina will present a sample problem. Our math this year was centered around statistics with some algebra. Thank you.
Alright, so lucky for us, I'm taking a statistics class this year, and thanks to our statistics teacher, Mrs. Kilpatrick, I was able to get a gold medal in the state in math. So we have a sample problem for you that comes from our practice book. There are 150 songs on an iPod. If each song is 3 minutes long and you are on a flight for 7.35 hours, how many different sets of songs are possible with no songs repeating? So looking at this problem, the first thing I'm going to do is concentrate on the numbers that I have. 150, 3 minutes, 7.35 hours. I want to know how many minutes are in 7.35 hours. So I'll just take my calculator, 7.35 times 60 for 60 minutes. You get 441 minutes on the flight. Now let's divide that by 3, because each song is 3 minutes. You have a nice, even 147 songs that you could fit into the duration of your flight. There are 150 songs possible, 147 of them are going to fit. Now there are longer ways you can do this written by hand, but time is of the essence in a timed competition, so I'm just going to use my handy dandy calculator, type in 150, I hit the combination button. This is where knowing how to use your calculator might be the biggest skill of all. 150, combination, 147 for the 150 possible songs, 147 that'll fit. Any guesses for how many different sets are possible? Any guesses?
I take napping in consideration.
It's more than one.
No guesses.
A lot.
A lot is correct. It is 551,300 songs. So that's just one of our math problems we had to do. How many did we have to do and how long did we have to do it?
35 in 30 minutes. So
Yeah.
time is of the essence
Time is of the essence.
in math.
All right, so I believe next we have Eddie Brown, who is presenting economics.
As you stated earlier, I'm Eddie Brown, doing economics. So, here's our problem. Let's say Coca-Cola, for whatever reason, decides to raise the price of their beverage. What do you believe will happen to the quantity of Coke sold, the price of Pepsi, and the quantity of Pepsi sold? Any guesses?
It's all going up. Called inflation.
That is out of the scope of this question.
Well, my wife will not drink Pepsi, so Coke is the only choice.
Well, I won't
So-
drink Coke.
Well,
This is a fun thing. Right, so seeing as how Coca-Cola and Pepsi are known as substitutes to one another, they are substitutes, therefore if the price of one goes up, the price of another goes down. And if you'd like to see how that works, well, I have two handy-dandy graphs for that, which I probably should have drawn up here earlier, but it's fine. Right? So this one represents the Coke. Don't mind my horrible handwriting. This one's Pepsi, right?
Yep.
So, seeing as how this axis, y-axis is price, x-axis is quantity, right? So, seeing as how price went up, right? So let's say it was, I don't know, there-ish, we'll call it. Right? So, seeing as how it's gone up, that means now we're above where that was, and as you go up in price, you go down in quantity. As you can see here, as the price went up, the quantity went down. Therefore, the answer to the first part of this, the quantity of Coke sold goes down. Now, as for the price and quantity of Pepsi, knowing that Coke and Pepsi are substitutes for each other, that means Pepsi, there's going to be more people who want to buy Pepsi now because Coke's gone up. So there is a rightward shift in the demand curve. Now it's here. Right? So, as you can see, we were originally at this price and quantity. However, now we are at a higher price and a higher quantity. Now initially the price won't go up but the price will eventually go up. You get more people buy more Pepsi, the price will go up eventually. Right.
So there are 50 economics problems that we have to do in 30 minutes, and will be anything from these sorts of graphing problems to completely other subjects, including some economics questions, the economics of water for this year. So that's our econ subject. All right. Alrighty, so next I'm going to do a little bit about our literature event. I won a gold medal in literature and tied for the highest score in the nation in any division at our last event. So basically in literature, it's another 50-question event with 30 minutes. So we have a small section which they'll give us a random section from a short story, a novel, or a poem, and then we have to read it and answer questions. There'll also be a short section about the topic that we're doing. So there were some questions about the literature of water throughout the ages. And then there's a novel. So every year at the beginning of the year, we're assigned a novel to read. This year was The Sea Wolf by Jack London. And basically, so we read it, and there's a large portion of questions about it. And there'll be everything from like basic plot events to also like how does water interact with it. So The Sea Wolf is set on a sealing ship that was going into the North Pacific to hunt seals. So definitely water was an omnipresent presence in the novel. So we'll have questions about that. And then finally we have some selections of short stories and poems that we get to read. And I thought I could read you one of our shortest poems. And then we'll be asked various questions about both the poem itself and some of the analysis about it and how it connects to water. So this is the poem Titanic by David Slavin. Who does not love the Titanic? If they sold passage tomorrow for that same crossing, who would not buy? To go down. We all go down, mostly alone, but with crowds of people, friends, servants, well-fed, with music, with lights, ah. And the world, shocked, mourns, as it ought to do and almost never does. There will be books and movies to remind our grandchildren who we were and how we died and give them a good cry. Not so bad after all. The cold water is anesthetic and very quick. The cries on all sides must be a comfort. We all go, only a few first class. So that's the poem. So we'll have both questions about like what's in it and who it'll be by. And then we'll also have questions about how water connects into it. Obviously, water is noted as being anesthetic. And obviously, this one is definitely about death in society and how that all connects with the Titanic, which is one of the most famous naval disasters in history. So we'll get all sorts of questions about that, and then basically it's a knowledge of knowing, reading and knowing the works, and also some analysis. So thank you. Next up, we have Sarah Klein with art.
So as Christian said, with literature, there is 50 questions. With the art topic, 10 of the 50 questions are about specific art pieces. So this year we are given 17 art pieces that could have been any of those 10 multiple choice questions. So they were all based on water, so it could be like the river, some like the Great Salt Lake, Niagara Falls, basically anywhere with snow and things like that. So when we do these questions, we have to know, so like the perspective of the painting or figure of art, the artist, and of course the title. And one of our team's favorites this year was called Spiral Jetty, which we liked because it sounded like Spiral Jenny, and one of our mascots' name is Jenny. So it's kind of like Spiral Jenny's with us when we learn about Spiral Jetty. So next we have Zach with music. So.
Okie dokie. So our music section is based on 14 to 16 pieces of music based on the subject, and this year it was water. So throughout the years we are expected to learn as many as we can, and some of us, like Kristen back here, we shoot to learn every single piece. If you are a music student or a student with a memory capable of just taking memories and locking them down and not letting them out, then this is probably the subject for you. Throughout the music test, we have 30 minutes to complete 50 questions, and the first 12 are listening questions, which an excerpt is played. There's a question asked along with this excerpt. The other 38 are questions based on a resource guide, a place where we can read all the information that we will be tested on. This year, in keeping with the theme of water, we had a wide range of pieces. Some were based on water, such as the Vltava, a piece based on the Vltava River in the Czech Republic. And so we are given a little bit of an excerpt. It's normally around 30 minutes. Not 30 minutes, 30 seconds. Yeah, that would be a really long time. Especially when we have 50 questions. So that would be about a third of the excerpt that we are given, and we are given a question on our test to answer. So in that one, it would be, I don't know. Not very good with this piece. But another piece that we would be asked for is the Adagio in C by Wolfgang Mozart, and shows the subject of water, mainly because it is being played by a glass harmonica, which is originally created by Ben Franklin. The glass harmonica is a series of large rotating bowls which are moved with a pedal by the foot. The performer wets the finger in a bowl of water, and they just push down on the glass bowls that are associated with that tone. Here's a little bit of an excerpt. This glass harmonicas are extremely expensive, So if you accidentally push a little bit too hard, you're down $8,000, at least. Lastly, another symbol of water in our music section is sea shanties, and one of which, a team favorite, is Haul Away the Bowlin', which I believe the team is offering to perform.
Yeah, a short section.
Yeah, like two verses. I'll leave that up to you. Have fun.
You know you'd be getting a concert tonight?
All right. Haul away the bowlin', kiss me darling.
Haul away the bowlin', haul.
Haul away the bowlin' and hope for better weather.
Haul away the bowlin', haul.
So there are various other verses, but in the interest of time, that was the first and last verse, and we'll be asked various things about it, like it's performed a cappella, so without any instrumental accompaniment, and various questions. So thank you, Zach, for presenting on that. I believe next will be Melody with social science.
And science and essay. Yeah, Melody.
You just took everyone's. No, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so as part of the social science curriculum for academic decathlon this year, we focused a lot on ancient civilizations and how water formed their societies. For example, ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Egypt, and ancient China. So environmental historians have been working even in modern day to connect water to the development of ancient societies and even how it's affecting us today. Now, one of these theories would be called the Wittfogel thesis. Now, in 1957, Karl Wittfogel, a German-American environmental historian, wrote Oriental Despotism, which explored the relationship between despotic societies with heavily irrigated, focused cultures. So even though that this was specific to ancient civilizations, we can even see it in a little bit modern day. So in the early 1900s, the Piave River was a main focus in Italy. But in an effort to rework the landscape, the Piave River was dammed. This led to a bunch of different issues, including lack of food sources, as well as people living by the river could no longer use mills to power producing any sort of items. This led to the rise of Mussolini to power. Because of their environment and such a rapid change in their entire lifestyle, they were driven to focus on a more secure and stable economy and somebody who would always be there. Although it was a despotic and authoritarian leader, they were willing to give up things such as a free market for this security. And that is what a little bit of the social science one, and I did win gold at the national level in this. So now I will read a little bit of a science essay prompt. This was just a practice one. So the prompt was, describe 2 types of marine sediment and explain how they form. Discuss the impact of sediments on marine species and the marine environment using evidence from the USAID Science Resource Guide in your essay. Now, real quick, we also don't have the resource guide to reference in this. You kind of just have to know it in your head and write. In a marine environment such as the ocean, the formation of sediments play a key role in the abiotic factors of a marine ecosystem. Marine sediments that formed hundreds of years apart from newly formed sediments serve equal importance in the ability for marine organisms to survive along with the environment itself to be able to sustain life. One of these sediments is formed by the weathering and erosion of sea rocks, creating a less fertile yet still foundational substance to support marine life, also known as pterogenous. Another marine sediment is formed as decay of marine organisms on the seafloor transfers nutrients and energy into soil washed into the sea from continents, also known as biogenous. Both of these sediments are vital to the survival and balance of marine ecosystems, and without either, an ecosystem would dwindle. Thank you. And now I think, yes, Kayla.
So I did not medal at nationals, but I'm going to present the interview portion of the competition. So we essentially are sat down in a room with 2 to 3 other judges, and they ask us questions. In person, we do have resumes, so they might ask personal questions like, what do you do with your summer, or like, how did such and such job go for you, or something like that. But whenever we do online, they don't really have any background information, so it's just generalized questions. Now, if it's okay with you guys, I was wanting to ask you all a few questions. So, would anybody like to volunteer to go first? No?
I'll do it.
All right, Mr. Badger, why did you decide to join the board?
Well, because I have kids in the school district, and I want to see flourish in their. I have 2 kids that are IEPs, so I like to see them kind of get what they need in order to be successful and graduate.
Who has been the most influential person in making your decisions?
My children have been the most influential in making decisions.
And what is the toughest choice that you've had to make on the board so far?
That would be the masking requirements for COVID. We don't talk about that anymore. Thanks for bringing that back.
Too late.
I failed the interview.
Put me on the news.
All right. I have the same 3 questions for everybody, so does anybody else want to volunteer?
No. We're that good.
All right, then that's all I have for you. And Lainey Messina will be next with her speech. So a little bit of context for an academic decathlon speech. We do not have a prompt. You can make it about whatever your heart desires. The only guidelines are time limits. It has to be above 3 minutes and 30 seconds and under 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So you have to be pretty specific within that time frame. So this year, my team likes to joke that I have the gift of the gab because my highest scoring events were always speech and interview. I got a gold medal in the nationals for interview. I had the highest score of any division in the interview round. In the speech round, I won a silver medal, and I'm now going to do the first minute and the last minute of my speech. So you're not going to have the middle context, but in the interest of time, I will not be doing the entire thing. So, without further ado, my national medal speech. Oh. That's not the speech. They told me to add that my speech at the state level got a score of 990 out of 1,000, which was the highest score that any student received in any event in the entire state level. There were over 1,000 individual event scores. Yeah.
That's incredible.
November 24th, 1968. The Denver Broncos beat the Buffalo Bills 34-32. And that's how Taylor Swift wrote her 6th album. Many people have heard of the butterfly effect. It's the idea that small details can have major consequences down the line. A butterfly flapping its wings in California can cause a tornado in Kansas. Similarly, something as seemingly inconsequential as the score of a 1968 NFL game can cause a butterfly effect, leading to one of the biggest pop music albums of the 21st century. Let's backtrack. The Broncos beat the Bills 34-32. We've established that. This loss leads to the Bills having the worst record of any team in the NFL that season. And what happens when a team has the worst record in the league? They get first pick in next year's NFL draft. So in the first round of the subsequent NFL draft, the Buffalo Bills select O.J. Simpson. Now that's the first minute of my speech, although I'm sure you'd love to hear what goes after that. Now I'm going to do the last minute of my speech. Reputation. A Taylor Swift album inspired by her feud with Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. A feud that was exacerbated by Kim Kardashian's marriage to Kanye West, a person that he married because she had fame that she built upon that she already inherited from her father, Robert Kardashian, a man who was famous because of the O.J. Simpson trial, a trial that took place because of O.J. Simpson's marriage to Nicole Brown, a woman that he met while he played for the Buffalo Bills, a team he played for because they had first pick in the NFL draft, a first pick they had because they lost one game by 2 points in 1968. The Broncos and the Bills did not know that the outcome of that one game would have such far-reaching consequences. Similarly, you do not know what wonderful and magnificent things you could cause just by making a small choice in your everyday life. So when opportunity knocks, open the door and ask yourselves, are you ready for it? Thank you.
I thought they were great, and I was just going to let them do it, but they informed me just before we got here that I'm also going to talk, so it's going to be short.
I just want to say I was not able to do all the things I would have liked to do with them this year, and what's amazing is they stepped up and did everything I wanted to do with them, they did by themselves. I would go and I'd have something to do, I'd come back an hour later and they were debating which cell structures and which sea creatures were doing this, and they'd be finishing up some section of a science book, and then one of them would get out the quiz book and they'd start answering questions that didn't even sound like the English language to me, and they knew the answers. Or if they didn't, they would start discussing, well, is that this kind or is that this kind? And I didn't know what they were talking about, but I was really glad they did. They have worked amazingly hard. We've been doing this, as Christian said, 25 years. And I've always known that this school had students with the capacity to achieve at this level, and we've never quite made it, and it was just through sheer hard work. And like I said, I wasn't always there, it was them just picking up the slack and doing it. So they really are an awesome group, and nice job, I'm proud of you.
Mr. Hart is often there. Mr. Hart volunteers his time to be there. It's not part of his duties. He chooses to do this, and it is a great group to work with. Eddie, I've never seen you that animated. So it's tough getting up here and talking to you folks. They were fantastic tonight. They believe in what they're doing. They believe in this club, this activity. When do you normally practice?
We practice after school for about 2 hours every Tuesday and Thursday, from the start of the year until our last competition, which was wrapped up at the end of April this year.
Leading up to the state finals and the national competition, we also had practices before school, and we would implement a 3-hour weekend practice each weekend.
So it's a real commitment. They also, how many competitions to get to nationals?
So we start out with 2 scrimmages, one in the fall, one in the winter, and then we have regionals, and then states, and then nationals.
Yeah, and it is the first team to have qualified for nationals, so congratulations. How many medals total? I believe 10?
Yes, 10.
And you know, those golds weren't just golds, they were top shelf golds, so congratulations again to you guys. Well done. We host one of those. I believe it's a scrimmage we host in the winter. It's set up in the auditorium. How many schools came to that?
8.
8 schools. Yeah. So we hosted that. They ate lunch in our caf, and it works out well. I think they're proud to be able to host one of those events too, as now a national competing academic decathlon team. So again, congratulations. We have some certificates for you.
Yeah, on behalf of the board, it's a pleasure to, pass out these little tokens of our appreciation, our gratefulness, for what you've done on behalf of the district and done for yourselves. It's not quite as heavy as some of the stuff around your neck, but you come forward when I call your name, and, Christian Smith.
These are quieter than that.
Zachary Smith. Lady Messina. Melanie Rezatarski. How they do? Sarah Klein. Austin Cummings.
He's not here tonight.
Military recruiter.
Yes, military recruiter.
Edward Brown.
I've never seen you quite that animated.
Just ask them about econ and you'll see if
We don't call them econ lessons, we call them econ rants.
I literally saw like 3 straight weeks from them just doing nothing but econ.
And we hated every minute.
Kayla LeBeau.
Zach McGarvey. And Riley Brown.
Some of them.
Yes.
I was looking at them.
Thank you again for your time.
Yes,
Oh,
thank you.
thank you for your time.
Congratulations, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks a lot.
That's not the first time.
I guess I deserve that one.
yeah.
So we can get it online now.
Okay, well, we'll continue with the agenda now and turn now to the public comment section of the agenda, and residents and taxpayers can comment on matters of concern or official action of the board, or matters that the board will be deliberating or have deliberated. Members of the public are given a unpaused 3-minute time frame to speak to us.
If it's all right, can we feel our student representatives to take some after-team pictures?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's only, what,
You know, they
2
say all
minutes?
publicity is good publicity.
Jack Callahan, 113 North Arch Street, Montoursville. I just have one thing. I'd like to see, for graduation, I'd like to see the scoreboard have 2022 written on it where it can be written, or on the thing, the lights up, 2022. So adds a little something to graduation, just having that blank scoreboard up there. And I don't think that would be too hard to do. So, does everybody understand what I mean?
It's a graduation ceremony and not a sporting event, that's why it's not turned on.
Wow.
That's been the thinking in the past. So
Well, this isn't.
if you want that different, then I would have to be directed to do so.
Well, I don't see any difficulty, and all I'm asking for is 2022 on the scoreboard. I've asked this, I think, other years too. I'm not asking for anybody to have anything on. I don't think the video board works, so I think I forget where on the scoreboard you can put. There's 4 things, 2022. So, adds a little something to it.
Good evening, Tina Marie Klein, 1009 Toole Street, Montoursville Borough. Mr. Schimmel, I just wanted to comment, you mentioned that y'all were in executive session prior to. Typically that's announced what it's for, personnel, whatever, so that's like part of the requirement when you guys are announcing a executive session.
Personnel.
Thank you. All right, just want to make sure we're keeping everything transparent. And the only other comment I wanted to make is I wanted to thank you all for being here tonight, and to point out there is one person conspicuously absent. Thank you.
Not seeing anybody else approaching the podium, then we'll move on now to the business manager's report.
You have received copies of the treasurer's reports for the period ending April 30th, 2022 for the general fund and the cafeteria fund. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval.
Move to approve.
Second. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
You have received copies of the budgetary transfers. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Questions? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
You've received copies of the listing of invoices for the general fund and cafeteria fund for the period ending May 10th, 2022. We are submitting these to the board for your consideration of approval and payment.
Move to approve.
Second. Questions?
Yes. Check number 62878 for 97 smart boards for a total of $389,394. Where will these 97 smart boards be installed?
They'll be installed in every classroom in both of the elementary schools and the middle school.
Did we have smart boards there before?
In most of the rooms, yes, there are some that, for I don't know what reason, did not have them in the past.
Do you know what the age of them were?
I would estimate 12 years, but I don't know for sure.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
The next question I have, is it a policy for the district to pay district employees $50 a day for food when they're out of the district? Is it a policy to pay them $50 per day? Is it in a policy somewhere? Question.
It's in contract.
Okay.
Teacher's contract. I think it might be in, is it in policy also?
My question is,
I think it might be in policy too.
why isn't the wording pay up to $50 a day? Because when an employee, a staff member doesn't use the $50 a day and we still pay them $50 a day, that should be counted as...
Do you have an example of that?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I do. Check number 62843.
Because it is up to 50. It's not.
It's up to 50 on the form.
Yeah. 62843. Let me just pull up that check because and see what you're looking at, so I can.
And if it is up to, I agree we need to pay them, you know, for their meals when they're on district business.
It's up to, they don't get a flat
It needs
50. They need to have receipts.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's what I went by, is the receipts that were submitted, Brandy.
You said 62843?
Yes.
Okay. And on this one, I'm not seeing $50 a day. You were looking, okay, so I see what you looked at though. You didn't look at their actual expense report that was turned in. You were looking at their request to attend, which they put 50 in until they know exactly how much they're going to spend. It's the yellow page.
The
employee is required to put in, we will not reimburse anything above what they submit on the form.
Right.
So if she would have put $50 on there for meals and turned in receipts for $150 in meals, the district would only have paid $50. That's been past practice.
Right, and I understand that. So
But that-
you are saying it's up to 50, it's not.
Right, because see here.
It's whatever, under $50, it's whatever,
You're looking at
You're
the
looking
purchase
at,
order of what the maximum expense could be for that.
okay.
yes, that's the maximum
That's the
expense. And
purchase
then
order.
the yellow page that's before that is their actual expenses.
Okay,
And that's what they get paid
With the
for.
receipts.
So, and those are less than $50 each day.
okay, fine. And on check number 62823, from here on out, will the dates for mileage expenses be recorded in full and not just a year from here on out?
Let me look at it, because there may have been a back page to it that didn't get scanned, because they are done by.
No, she actually, it was questioned and she actually said that she didn't have the dates.
Okay.
She just gave the year
then she was told that she needed to have it.
Right.
If
So
that's,
that will change?
yes.
Okay.
So now there's a spreadsheet that I submit that you're used to seeing.
Okay. That's all I have.
Any other questions? I ask the secretary to do a roll call.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Badger,
Yes.
Dr. Berry,
Yes.
Dr. LaCrone,
Yes.
Dr. Mathers,
Yes.
Mr. Schimmel,
Yes.
Mr. Snell,
Yes.
Mr. Ulmer,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
All right, now, moving on, let's see if I can figure this out. Desktop and
Yep.
which one is it? Am I Broad Street or?
It is Broad Street.
I got it. Hey, I'm learning. All right. This is going to be very short and sweet. We are not approving a preliminary. We are not ready to. We just received the IU contract yesterday morning, and late yesterday morning actually, and there's errors in it. Stuff needs to be corrected. It's not right at all, so I wasn't even going to tackle that with you guys. So to move on real quickly here, the one big change I have is we received our homestead credit amount, and that comes out on May 1st. This year, May 1st was Sunday, so we got it on May 2nd. And the homestead credit increased for us, for our district, because it's a big long calculation that we have to figure out, to $170.50 from $134.27. This is an additional $36.23 credit to every property that qualifies for the homestead. So each year, when you buy a house, you have to fill out the homestead credit, and then it usually carries over each year. You're supposed to reapply, I think, for about every 7 years. It's basically, to qualify, it just has to be your primary residence. And that's the homestead credit that you see on your tax bill. So this does change a little bit on how things look. Our average property value assessment is $129,784, and that's the assessment average. It's not market value average. So I just want to make sure that's clear. Assessments are a lot lower than market values right now. So we looked at our mills could go to the possible potential of 0.71. What that looks like for an average home is $55.92 per year, or $5 per month. These are numbers that we always present. I just want to make sure everyone sees that the change that they're going to have because of the increase to the homestead. 0.62, I just kind of divided them out and went down to 0, so this is just how I came up with my numbers, no reasoning behind it, is $44.24, which is $4 a month. 0.53 is $32.56 annually, which is $3 a month. 0.44 is $20.89, which is $2 a month. 0.36 is $10.49 annually, and $1 a month. 0.28 is where it's a break even, no change in tax bill, and anything lower than 0.28 is a discount. It lowers the tax bill from last year. So I just wanted to show everyone where, we do have some positive notes here that taxpayers are receiving a higher tax credit this year for the homestead properties. So, and the homestead was funded at 100% this year, where in the past it was funded at 80%. So that's really all I have right now. We'll hope to have we have to have an adopted proposed budget at the May 24th work session, and then adopt it on June 14th. As soon, the things that we're waiting on are basically the major thing that we're waiting on is the IU budget, and as we hire positions, we'll start throwing those into the budget to see what they do also to the budget. So that's all I have. Any questions on that?
Randy, you want to check into that homestead credit? I wasn't aware that you have to put in for that every 7 years, because I've never put in for it again, and I still get it.
I didn't either, but I believe in there it does say every 7 years. I read that somewhere, but then after I said it, I was at my last home for 8 years and I never reapplied either. So I don't know if our county doesn't, or because the county takes care of it.
Right.
But
could you imagine a firestorm if they started taking it away?
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, and we would notice it because I actually run a calculation with all the homesteads that qualify. I get a list. There's 1,300 and some homes on that list, and I do a whole calculation, divide out the whole amount of money and what has leftovers, because it goes off of the assessed value of the property. So sometimes there's leftovers, and then it gets thrown back into the calculation. It's about a 6-page spreadsheet, and to calculate it all out. And there's a lot of homes in there, and you would see if something changed with it. I mean, it's pretty. I think this year we changed by 4 properties. So.
Well, it's just when you said 7 years, it shocked me because I've never.
I think that's what it does read. I'll reread that and just double check, because after I just said that, I was like, wait, I was at my last property for 8 years and I never reapplied there. So. Anything else?
Okay. Well, thank you, Madam Secretary. Move on now to the superintendent's report, and by way of superintendent's report, we'll go around the room and see what our administrators have to say. Mr. Myers.
Yeah, always starts with me for some reason. Hey, just sitting back and listening to our fine high school students and how far they've progressed, it just warms my heart to see how bright our future is with the academic, social aspects of these students. So it's just fantastic. So appreciate that offering this evening. If you had a chance to be here last Friday, we had the middle school chorus fest hosted here at the high school. There were 18 schools here. Our students performed amazingly. So thank you, Mr. T and the crew, for offering the building to do that. Chorus concerts tomorrow night is at 6 and 7:30. Next week, days coming up using grant monies. We have taco bills coming to serve all the students. So we're excited about that. Kids are pretty fired up. And then lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about our summer schools program. I'm not quite sure. Mr. Farrar pointed out in the agenda that's K-1. It's actually K-7. We're expecting hopefully 160 to 170 students that will serve this year. So we're in the process of calling, sending school messenger reports out to the families for that. We're going to throw in some field trips, some STEM and computer science with that, some FCS and technology. So not only are they going to get the academic, but some fun hands-on activities too. So that's all I have to report. Thank you. Oh, also, real quick, we have the mobile oil first. The grant is coming here on the 24th and 25th. So please give me a call, come over and see that. We're excited about that.
What day's Taco Bill showing up?
I'll let you know.
We got a bunch of repairs that have to be done over there. Sebastian and I.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry about that. We always have to cut him off. Yeah, I'm in meetings too. He just go on and on and on. It's that time of year, as Mr. Myers said. You know, we have all kinds of fun things, the summery things, and celebrating the year together. So those things are coming around as some annual traditions, some new things. But Friday we get to bring back. Well, we had it last year, but in a modified sense. But the later Spring Fling is Friday. It's kind of a food truck, basket rattle, games, kind of a combination. So if you're in town, come on out and support that. Scores concert is here at high school on Monday for our 4th graders. And the only thing in addition to my report, I just want to highlight what we did for Mother's Day. Kind of was a last minute thing we came up with, was we were preparing for Spring Fling. From one of the other events in the past, we had some wooden roses that one of the stands had about, I don't even know how many years ago, but they were really well boxed and preserved in great shape. And we thought we could surely have our students take this home to mom or grandma, but part of the things we want to do is teach our kids about giving back and giving to others. And so what we did is a lot of teachers do a Mother's Day gift for the students at home. What we did is the kids did a little bit of a coloring page, and we took a wooden rose around to 10 different nursing home facilities in the area so that we could brighten Residents' Day. So it was a good lesson for the students that we could do for them. So.
Thank you. Mr. Young?
I got yelled by both of these guys to keep it short because I used to talk too much and then they go on. So I'm going to keep it short. You guys all got my report. Just a couple things that I wanted to highlight. And I know we talked about this a little bit last time. We had our mystery dinner with some of the high school kids that came out. Chris helped me get the kids out there because we had a van shortage, but we got the kids out there and we had about 45 of our elementary kids, and then we kind of decorated up the cafeteria a little bit. And I don't know who was more excited walking in, the high school kids or the elementary kids. And it was really cool to see how they interacted and hearing some of those elementary kids coming out. They were like, that was the best day ever. And then I got to bring some of the kids back, and they're like, you wouldn't believe what they were asking me. Stuff. So it was just for everybody involved. It was a great learning experience. We have our Spring Festival coming up on Saturday, the day after Darren. So if you drive by and it looks like there are places to park, stop in. If it looks like there's no places to park, try to come back later. That's our only concern is parking. So as long as it stays dry, I think we'll be okay. There's some spots over there where we'll try not to rut it up too much. I don't want Joe to work too hard. So we should be all right with that. And then we have our concert coming up here on the 19th.
Are you inviting Taco Bill?
We do not have Taco Bell's, but we do have like 3 or 4 different groups coming out.
He's been invited. He never takes us up on
to do some stuff, so.
I haven't had a chance to try them yet. I hear his tacos are great.
I need to find you Taco Bell.
Send them the date.
Well, Mr. Termina, can you do better than these guys?
No, I surrender. It's that time of year. I know Pastor said we're tired, but I may look it, but I'm full of energy. We're excited for graduation and all the events to close out the year. 301 student tickets sold for the prom, so we are back as normal as can be. It's fantastic. The only thing we have to address, and that's going to be a work in progress, is attendance has to get back to normal, and school has to be important again. We're seeing coming out of this, now that we're shifting back to normal, that maybe not everybody's quite ready to be back to fully normal. So we got some corrections to make there. Your best option is to be here. That, of course, at any level determines your success here in our school district. So that's something we need to work on for next year. But we're excited. Great time for seniors, and it will be normal. One graduation this year.
Will you have the graduates' posters hanging around the fences as usual?
That I don't have money for, so we have donations. I'd be happy for that, but we do not have the money this year for the banners.
It's always been such a great
spent some extras on tents and dance floors, so.
What was the cost of
They're around 1,200.
Total. Well, the board, I just think that's an incredible parting gift for our students. I know one senior from last year, you still got to hang it on his bedroom door. I guess it's not on the agenda, and I don't know that it's de minimis, but Joe, can you give up some of your budget?
It's always me. God.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Board, if you don't mind, if we kind of, I mean, we can't, it's not on the agenda, we can't vote on it, it's probably not de minimis by law, so, but the sentiment, my sentiment's there that is such a wonderful thing to do. We'll see what.
So I should dig deep and look for.
We'll see if there's some magic that can happen. If you board members, if you got any ideas, give me a holler. So.
Will that check be questioned if it comes through?
Why are you looking at him?
Well, you have your answer early.
Okay.
So I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll look for banner money.
Okay, with that, let's move on now to our agenda items, and we'll start with the general items. G1 is the approval of the Montoursville Area High School summer programs pursuant to the board policy reference. 6-week programs will run from June 13 to July 29, and you have listing there of what the courses are and the cost per course. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Do we have a second? Okay. Any questions? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. G2, approval of an agreement between the district and River Valley Regional YMCA. And we have the attachment. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
And abstention, yes? Okay. All right, the ayes have it. G3, approval to purchase and install new playground equipment at Leiter. We heard some of the things that happened in that regard. Total cost was $141,121, and the proposal is to pull that money from capital reserve. And do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Questions?
Is this bid?
Co-stars. It's a
Co-stars?
The only thing I have to say is, I saw the plans there, and I think it's pretty elaborate. That's the only comment I'm gonna make.
I like the inclusion of the mobility or physical that's by law, those students shouldn't be excluded from participation in typical activities, so I think that's a really nice addition.
And I got an email today that the Schwartz-Hurwitz family, if we approve this tonight, they would commit to matching dollar for dollar the money raised by PTO for the express purpose of a later playground upgrade.
Wow, that's nice.
So that would help with the further plans and the other things that we have.
Very nice.
That's fantastic.
And the PTO.
And that's a commitment in writing.
And the PTO has been raising some funds for the last couple of years with the goal of this. I mean, this was coming. I mean, the playground gets used hard. I mean, you drive by there with the ball games, and it's really more than a school playground. It's a community playground.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if you go by there, and it's just age. You know, they've been there 20 plus years, and they've just been used hard. And Joe and his crew maintain it, but it's just as they looked at this last time when some things started to fall into the break, it's rust and it's just age. And so they did what they could. And so the PTO has had plans to help do this looking forward, and they've been in the process. So they do have some funds they'd like to contribute towards it.
So then if we pass this tonight, they'll have matching.
Would that be for the extra pieces?
Yes.
Like the new swing sets and things like
Yeah.
that? Oh, that's great.
And that's a
Tell them-
dollar for dollar match.
Dollar for dollar.
That's very important to us, yep. Tell them that.
Very generous.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
it won't take anything away from this amount, though.
No.
No, it won't. Mm-mm.
But I agree, I drove by because I wanted to kind of see the condition, and I drove by at 4, and there were so many kids on it, I'm like, they're gonna think this strange old lady is out there.
That's not who that was.
Driving by really slowly.
I mean, and, you know, being the principal of both buildings over the years, and they both get used heavily, but it's just this one being right in the center of town, with the ball field and everything, it gets used a little harder. I mean, they both get used hard during the school day, they just do, but it's just, and again, each just has a factor to do with that. And we're lucky our crew, our maintenance crew does a good job of maintaining it. It's just, even to repair what's there, you can't order replacement parts because they've been discontinued, because they, you know, the company moves on and makes a new product.
Is there any concern with the footprint of the way it's laid out right now, based off of our upcoming negotiations on construction projects?
No.
So we're not gonna have to tear and rebuild?
No, the playground was never touched on those plans, that part of the playground. So it'll still remain there. If something happens, let's say a wing goes across there, it's still gonna be on the outside of the wing.
Thank you.
Okay. Joe, did you check, going to Mr. Young's question, is this a play world from down around,
Middleburg.
yes.
Mifflinburg, yeah, yes.
Is it?
Yep. Eli would be the company that's getting from Play World.
Oh, okay.
You can't really buy direct from Play World, they're just kind of like a vendor.
And that's their recommended installer who does a lot of their installations. Because when we called them, even looking ahead to this last summer, even proposed, that's who they directed us to. They said they're good and they do the majority of our installations.
And the install time, will the playground have to be closed for a period of time?
I can't answer that.
I'm sure.
We haven't gone any further, yeah. I will tomorrow, I will follow this up now, so I'll get you some more info for sure.
Just curious, because it is, I watch Little League games every night, it's a hub of activity.
We have to take it all out, and then we'll see how long it takes, you know. We'll figure that out.
Okay, hearing no more questions or discussion, then I guess all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay,
Half the kids, thank you.
Yeah.
G4, approval of the 2021-2022 Summer Skills Program for Tier 2 and Tier 3 students in grades K through, that was
That means they're amended.
That's through 7.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So that motion amended to say K through 7.
So moved.
Wait a second. Second. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, moving on to personnel, we have P1, approval of the following additions to professional staff effective the 2022-2023 school year. And we see the list of 5 individuals, their certifications, the rate of pay, and the replacement mechanism, if you will. So do we have a motion to approve those? Unless you want me to read them all through them, I mean, okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any questions? And the transfer of entity means they're ours now because they were IU and now they're ours. Okay. All right. Okay, any other questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And they are here, so
Oh,
I don't know what order you want to do. Go ahead and start us, Mr. Edler.
Eric Eebler.
you're welcome.
Yeah, nice to be here.
Now we have the Eagler family.
There we go.
Yeah.
Julie works you hired her last year. She's our MTSS teacher, or coordinator at her.
Okay. Okay. And
Faith Dunkelberger.
welcome, Faith.
I'm Megan Bailey. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Megan. Okay. All right.
And you guys don't have to stay. Exciting as it is. But congratulations. Thank you very much. Welcome to the district.
All right, P2, approval to add the position of Assistant Business Manager as well as the job description.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
No, I don't have a question, but I got some comments.
Okay, comments?
This administration needs to quit making up new positions or job titles. Just as a district our size doesn't need an assistant superintendent, it also doesn't need an assistant business manager. While I agree that Jessica is doing a great job in the business office, it isn't a reason to create a new position / job title. As I stated before, a district our size doesn't justify an assistant business manager. When an employee such as Jessica performs her job exceptionally well, you reward them with a merit raise or a bonus. You don't create another job title that will amount to an increase of around over $8,000 total when PSERS and Social Security are factored in. I met with Brandy last week to discuss the budget currently being worked on. She told me that she sees the only way to trim the deficit is to cut programs and or positions. She said if I can think of any other way to cut the deficit, to let her know. I'm letting her know now, not adding this position job title is a start. That's all I got.
Any other questions?
And Jessica, I have nothing against you. I think you do a great job.
We need to be careful we don't discuss personnel in the public light like that. We do discuss positions, but we have to be careful what we say about performance of personnel in public setting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Schimmel, but we do give accolades, the board does give accolades to personnel when accolades are warranted.
I understand, but when we're in the place of adding a position and commenting on salaries and all that, we get a little tricky there, so we have to be careful. Okay, any other comment or discussion or questions? I will say that the business manager has worked the numbers so that she still has a reduced budget for this upcoming year, so she's worked hard to make sure there is not a overall cost increase to the district. So,
did you want me to provide those? I do have those numbers.
Well, we had already received them.
Okay.
And
all right. I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that.
We read our emails and everything. We knew that there was a cost reduction in the business office. That was explained very well. Okay. Then all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Yes, opposed.
Okay. All right, moving along then. P3, to approval to, and with amendment of the language, instead of approval to add, the approval to appoint Jessica Wright to the position of Assistant Business Manager effective May 11, 2022 at $53,000 per rata for the remainder of the school year with no increase in the following school year. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do we have a second? Second. Any questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Moving on then to the back side of the sheet, we have...
Congratulations, Jessica.
Jessica.
Welcome to the new position of the district. Thank you.
I believe P4 through P10 we can group together. We have a resignation of the cross-country. We have addition to the coaching staff in cross-country. A substitute teacher list for 3 new subs. We have addition to the support staff of 1 individual, and a resignation of the support staff member, and again an addition to the guest teacher list, 3 names there, and rounding it out on P10 with the approval of addition to the substitute support staff list for the balance of the school year. So P4 through P10, would there have to be any separations, anyone? Any separations or anything on P4 through P10? You okay with board consent to do that as a block? Okay, in that case, Do we have a motion to approve P?
Could you pull P7 out so we can recognize the person she is here?
Yeah. All right. We will separate P7. So we have P, put her on the spot now. We have P4, 5, and 6, and P8, 9, and 10 together. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. And we have P7, approval following addition of the support staff, Lauren Ginter as a healthcare aide, $14.25 an hour to replace Tammy Carey. So,
Move to approve.
we have a second.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. Welcome.
No, the last person hired has to give a speech.
I promise you she didn't have. No, we're very lucky and fortunate to have Lauren join our staff. She's working in UPMC in pediatrics, brings extensive background, and we can't replace Mrs. Carey, but boy, we got just about the person who can do it. I'm telling you, we're very fortunate.
Good. Well, thank you. Okay, moving on to moving on to transportation. T1, approval of the Promised Land busing rate in those amounts listed for April 2022. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second? Any questions? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And in the academics, A1, approval of the graduation of those members of the senior class of 2022 who will have met all state and district requirements as of June 1, 2022, 135 potential graduates as of May 10. Special dates for the senior class as follows: award ceremony June 8, 2022, and commencement on June 9, 2022. So approval for graduation of those qualified to graduate. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussion?
What's the time for the awards ceremony?
7 p.m.
Open to the public?
Yeah, I mean, they generally don't go to that, but yes. Yeah, there are invitations that are sent out too.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
really what my question
Okay,
was.
that's what I thought, but
How it's ordered. Okay.
yeah, invitations will go out. We're working on those now to both the students and donors and board, and
Where's that held?
the award ceremonies in the auditorium.
If there's no other questions, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And that deals with our agenda items. And moving on now to other reports. Madam Vice President, would you walk us through that?
Okay, PSBA, I don't have any report. Policy Committee,
Nothing at this time.
nothing, okay. IU,
Nothing, the meeting is next Wednesday.
okay. LCTC,
Nothing to report. Attendance will be up a little bit with the joining. Benton School District hasn't joined formally as a member, but they are sending students, so the attendance probably will be up a little bit this year. So, but that's good. They can handle it.
How's that work, David?
They pay a tuition that's more than what we would pay. They pay sort of like a premium to send their kids over. And they're working with Central Columbia to dissolve that relationship and become a sending member to the LCTC. But it's taking time. Lawyers.
they had an open house there, correct?
They did.
There was a friend of mine had posted her daughter went and just alkalized on what a great program they had.
Yeah, and you know, I apologize. One of our students received an award, and Dan, I forget which one it was. In fact, is he in computer class?
Oh,
He doesn't go down
more than me then.
Right. We had one of our students in the computer science win an award.
All right.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
I'll follow up and bring that
Okay.
to the work session.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Memorial Garden,
The fundraising campaign continues. Ask Brittany for an update. we've had donations around 23,000 so far. So we're getting off to a good start. I certainly will encourage everyone to take a look at your budgets and where you had targeted some funds for gifting in this year, please consider the renovation project at the Memorial Gardens.
Cool. We'll have to be patient with that, right? It'll take a while.
Yes, the hope is that we'll have raised enough funds, which is looking at 120,000 by the fall, because that's when we'd like to do, the project. Our goal, overall goal of 200,000, that will help us then really have an amount of money that will be sustaining as far as maintenance goes, hopefully. Hopefully through the rest of my lifetime and further.
Okay. And nothing else for the budget, I assume?
No.
Building and grounds? We don't have anybody from Montoursville Foundation yet. Are you covering that?
Yes.
Still? Okay.
We were to have a meeting yesterday, but it got canceled, well, actually moved to the 23rd, so I will report on that at the June meeting.
Okay. And extracurricular?
Nothing at this time?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. This time then we'll accept additional public comment under the same conditions as last time, 3 minutes, 3 unpaused minutes. Members of the public who wish to comment can come forward and tell us who you are and where you live. And seeing no one coming forward, we'll close that portion of the meeting and move on now to adjournment.
Well, one thing, Mr. President, if I could.
Yes.
Soon, we will be bringing to you a proposal for a new math curriculum, core curriculum for grades K to 6. As you know, we've been looking at that and analyzing, where we're at. We've been using everyday math as our series for a long, long time. But as we've seen our kids and students progress in elementary, the middle, and high school, and just seeing how, for example, some of the state tests have changed, and also hearing the feedback from our high school teachers and the students move on to college, we realized that curriculum hasn't kept up with the power it once had. And so we, like a lot of districts, have been studying that. We started a pre-pandemic, of course, got paused when the world changed, and we got our work back up and working on it. And I tell you, Mr. Chairman, you know, this crew was a committee of teachers from both elementary schools, from middle school to high school. So it was a cohesive study and look at and analyze what we knew, what we need, what our strengths are now, the things we felt we need to improve on in areas, and look for a core curriculum to be our base. It went to the point of we looked at 8, 9, 10 different, core curricula that are out there that are used widely around the state. And we narrowed it down to one that we really found. And actually did a site visit to a district who's been using it for about 4 years. We went down to Danville and saw it. But let me bring it forward to you. It has a good base. They've seen good results in their students. I know some other neighboring districts, Loyalsock, for example, others, they've gone to the same curriculum. They've seen the feedback. And it has, a good solid base, has good resources for the teachers using the kids, and also has a good supplemental piece, on the electronic side, which is, it doesn't, it takes an assessment you with the kids throughout the year, and then it gives targeted interventions specific to each student, and what a resource that is for the teachers to help them. And again, once we visited the district, Mr. Terry and I took a group of teachers down to see it. We wanted to see it in action. You can take someone's feedback, but if you can see the students interact with it, and Danville was a wonderful host, and that just sold us. And we thought that's the one that we think we definitely want to go with. And of course, right now, as you know, one of the goals out of the ESSER funds is to use it to help us do that as a benefit to the students and to our curriculum, and also a time where it helps the board to afford, sorry. Sorry, Ron. It's kind of bit
Breaking math to offend all of you.
But it helps, it honestly helps districts make such gains, improvements like that, but also do it in this, at a time where, a curriculum change like that at its core at that level, that many grade levels is, it's expensive. It's an expensive move. But our next goal is to work with them to, once we bring forward for your approval to go ahead and purchase that, then we're working out with them to do an adoption. Now the process we're going to do with that too is, just so you know, is look at training the staff next year. If we try to rush around and do it now, the staff wouldn't feel prepared, doesn't help us do our best job with the kids. We want to make sure the staff is comfortable, familiar with how they recommend to teach that and get the professional development and training there. We did that with the reading series, if you remember a few years ago, those on the board, and that worked out really, really well. And we want to do the same thing. And we'll probably have a few teachers possibly pilot the program next year, do the training, and there'll be a nice extra resource for their colleagues as well.
I
Can
talked
I make a
to,
comment after that, because I didn't realize that was gonna be said.
it's not on the agenda, but.
Okay,
but
no,
yeah,
that's okay, yeah, just real quick.
And I thought Curtis was the talker, but whatever.
Brenda Oberheim, 192 Woodland Court. So I appreciate that explanation of the curriculum, and curriculum's something that will be a really big deal to me in deciding if my kids come back to this district. I'm sure, as you know, in the political world today, that curriculum's a really big deal. SEL and CRT being in curriculum has been a problem. DeSantis just kicked out a math program in Florida, and I sent this to Mr. Schimmel, and he responded like, wow, even in the math books. So we're depending on you, as the parents, to go over things. Of course, math, we want them to be able to learn math like you wouldn't believe. So if you say it's a good curriculum as far as that, I'm going to take your word for it, other than probably wanting to see it. But we haven't seen it. So if there is something that you're, really considering, I think that the parents should be able to see what the curriculum is going to be that you are considering, and know that if anything like CRT or SEL or anything like that is in there, then it would probably be a no. But I want my kids to learn math really, really well. And we're trusting you guys to make sure that nothing like that would be in the curriculum.
I'll ask the sales rep if they've explored that. That's the best I can do for it.
Yeah.
We don't, as you know, we don't promote that, don't teach.
Right, yeah, it is sad, and I don't believe that you do promote it or teach it. I'm just asking that you look over it to make sure, because unfortunately they're putting these things in our in the kids' curriculum, and people aren't looking for it. So we need to make sure that it's not there before we purchase something very expensive. Thank you.
It will be vetted, and it wasn't on DeSantis's list.
How can we see it then? Like before you guys?
I have to look at I don't know if we put curriculum out for public review or not.
We gotta get that done.
Well, and I guess, what's the name of it? I'm sorry if I missed it, but what's the
They can be viewed at the district office. I think that's a policy.
I'm pretty sure it is. There is a review period. I don't know the length. It's done here in district office.
Yep.
But I have to get up to speed on the details of how that works.
And who makes the rule that it has to be done in the
That's
district
policy.
office? And
And
where
that
do we
would be
get that policy?
The board policy.
Looking for
So
it.
you
I'll
have
look it up. It's on the web.
I saw that another parent from another district had complained that you have to come to the school.
We don't
It's
have
an
multiple
extensive,
copies to be able to
Right,
distribute to. We get a set basically
right, okay.
to look at, and we don't want that leaving the building, so.
Okay, well, and also I'd ask each board member if you could possibly look over it yourselves before, really thoroughly look over it and make sure that there's nothing in there that would concern parents. I appreciate that.
And like I said, we're early because again, knowing we have that time, we
Yeah.
just wanted to share where we're at with that project.
I do want to say I had a short conversation with Dan about it, and the one thing that impressed me about this new math series is it's math that parents can understand.
I've been through, as a parent, I've been through it now for a year. Well, also has this. So I've seen firsthand, not all of it, but I've seen the problems that come home and the stuff they're working with online, because there's an online component with some diagnostics. I have not seen any questionable material. It is math the way I understand math, not every day, like the Everyday Math series. So I think it will be a breath of fresh air for parents trying to help their kids at home in that tutoring role. So, but we'll get details as we start the implementation on that review process and how that'll work.
And did you say staff training, would that be 22, 23, and then implementation 23, 24?
That's our goal.
Okay, board, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
Jack, I'll look at the video board and see if I can get 2022 on it.
Second?
I'll see if I can get 2022 on the video board. Video board works.
I was reading policy too.
It'll look like